Good afternoon, Satelanders. How are you? Oh, for pity's sake, this camera of mine is going to be the... Whew. The problem is that it's difficult to set it. It should be set once and remain there, but I have dogs coming in and out all of the time. And now for me to reach over and do the thing is more difficult than it might sound. And to get it just right. Oh, you can't believe it. They've moved it like 6 inches. They didn't just move it, they moved it. And unlike the camera that I used to use, which was a fairly sophisticated one, this one can't be set by remote control. And I'm a bit off when it comes to mirror images. You'll often see I'm bound to mess this up, so I've got to think. The S is that side. So this hand, no, you see I did mess it. If I try to straighten out my hair, I'll get it messed up. I think I must have been, I was the oldest child, but I think I was the last to figure out how to comb my hair in the mirror. Anyway, guys, KW Miller has made 2 videos in recent days. That is to say, yesterday being Tuesday the 24th and the previous day, Monday. In fact, I believe that the one was released on Sunday, the 22nd, Monday the 23rd. 2 videos pertaining first to civil war in South Africa, and then as a sort of a continuation of the theme, he spoke about how farmers in South Africa should not produce crops, livestock, and dairy this year because it's bound to be a waste, that it will all be risked and lost, jeopardized by and lost as a consequence of 2 things. Firstly, Eskom's failures, and secondly, a civil war that is being hatched, if you like, by the African National Congress in order to some of it is a bit garbled, but I think I'm not being dishonest, even if I'm not precise, as he was not precise. As I say, what he said was to some extent garbled, but I think I'm being honest to the spirit of what he was saying when I interpret it as because, that is to say, the civil war, because they want to hang on to Eskom, they don't want to privatize it, and although it wasn't said, I think he was kind of trying to make the point, hang on to power. And many Satelanders have commented to me that they believe that it's to do, or commented on groups on which I am present, that it's to do with the elections in 2024. Or else they'll say that the fact that we have power now is because the ANC doesn't want to lose the elections in 2024. So this is quite a muddied subject. It's a pool of water with silt at the bottom, which when disturbed muddies the whole pool. Whereas really, it should be a clear pool of water. The conversation, I think, can be simplified. I don't think that the ANC's efforts to keep the lights on right now are to do with the elections of 15 months' time. because that's like giving somebody a yellow fever injection for a trip that they're going to take in 20 years' time to Zanzibar Island, by which time the yellow fever injection will long have expired, or its efficacy, as they say in medicine, its efficacy shall have expired in your body. You know, they know that what I'm trying to say is that they know that whatever they do now is going to count for very little when people are apparently or supposedly making up their minds about their voting in April of 2024, or as late as May, June, July of 2024, because there's a window period during which the election, or by up to 90 days, by which the South African elections can be shifted. They don't have to happen. The national elections don't have to happen on the 27th of April. And the ANC knows that. Keeping the power on today, but then it going off in 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 months' time will erase everything that they did frantically now. That's my opinion. And I've gotten slightly off topic. What I'm trying to say is that that's one argument that I'm not sure really counts or works. I'm also not sure that the ANC is hatching a civil war plot right now. They may well be, and I'm a Suidlander. I'm a convicted Suidlander. With all due respect, I moved a long way in many senses of the word to be in this position. So I don't think that anybody should doubt my convictions about the inevitability of a civil war. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't absolutely convinced that Msina van Rensburg is a true prophet of God, and that Suidlanders under Mr. Miller is the only organization that is worth investing my life in order to do the right thing somehow. You know what I mean? So don't take me the wrong way when I say I don't know that a deliberate, all-encompassing plan for civil war is being schemed out right now, and that K.W. Miller is right. However, if he is right, and if, as I and Mr. Miller and all of you and Wimsina believe, there is coming a terrible, terrible, terrible thing in this country that may be described as nationwide anarchy or a civil war that requires we Suidlanders to erect a national emergency plan to safeguard the welfare of our people. I just cannot see how it is a prudent and wise thing, even if that's the case, for a guy like that to publicly tell farmers, don't plant. That is looking for trouble. Because if the farmers of South Africa don't plant and don't rear livestock, don't, as they do every year or every season, breeding cycle, I should say, regenerate their livestock, And if dairy farmers slaughter their herds and stop producing dairy, this country will suffer a famine, the likes of which the world has seldom seen. It will be worse than many of the well-known famines of history, such as the Biafran famine in Nigeria and the Ethiopian famine of the 1980s, for the simple reason that South Africa is so very heavily dependent upon high performance commercial agriculture. You know, we've spoken many times about the concept, the well-known concept, that in a time of absolute cataclysmic crisis, any two societies that are at opposite ends of the spectrum of development, providing you with extreme comparisons, will experience very, very, very different levels of suffering and failure and so on. Because the very developed society, when it loses, say, electricity for 3 weeks, plunges from up there to down there, and it can't cope because it depends absolutely on that electricity. If you turned off all of the electricity in Nigeria tomorrow for a year, not 3 weeks, a year, hardly anybody would notice, because as it is, Nigeria has very little electricity. And most of the electricity generated in Nigeria is generated by private individuals. The state provides very little electricity. And most people have made a plan a long time ago. I've been to Nigeria 23 times. But I haven't been there for 10 or 12 years. Excuse me. So I don't know whether they've cottoned on to solar very much. The last time I was there, solar was not a big thing. However, everybody has a generator. And it's not even that they run it all of the time. It's that they run it when they really need it. And then they do a lot of work using that generator, such as boiling water or, whatever else, using the microwave, the lawnmower, whatever you care to think of, in a certain few hours of the day. So they are well adapted. South Africa, sadly, falls into the former category. So it's not that the conditions, or the circumstances, I should say, would be more severe in South Africa than they were in Ethiopia in the 1980s. It's that we are less able to adapt to even less severe conditions. The 60 million people of South Africa, plus others in neighboring states, to some extent, not a great extent, but some extent, who depend upon South African commercial farmers' productivity, would go berserk if the farmers of South Africa listened to that Yahoo K.W. Miller and didn't plant. Having said that, I'm going to add that I tell people that they must pay attention to K.W. Miller, because even if he's as some people have alleged, a Jesuit, and even if much of what he's saying is very destructive, such as we are discussing in this video, a lot of what he says is very instructive. And we must pay attention to him in the same way that we pay attention, I do, day and night, to every utterance of Bill Gates, because the kernels of truth that he utters are very valuable in providing us with insights into the onslaught against us that they are planning for the next period. So that's not the point at issue here. I'm not saying don't watch K.W. Miller. I don't want you to say, well, he says one thing in one video and another in another. I'm not. I'm saying pay attention to the guy. But make no mistake, telling South African farmers not to farm is tantamount to inducing us to commit suicide. Inducing us as a country, as a body corporate, as the citizens of this country. You know, I have a friend, or I had a friend, who told me about a chap that she knew from school or something like that, who became a hostage negotiator. And what I'm about to describe you is not lascivious or prurient. It's not of a sexual nature. But she said to me, this guy could make her do anything. And I insist, it wasn't of that sort of a nature. She was just making the point to me that this guy had a remarkable talent that he would sometimes exercise on people as a joke. He didn't, she said to me explicitly, he never ever misused it. But he would, as a joke, find a way, construct a scenario in a group of people around a dinner table or a braai or wherever. He just had a talent for persuading people to do things, as you might expect that a hostage negotiator would have such a talent. Like these people who negotiate with people who are about to commit suicide, may God forbid it. And that anecdote and this guy remind me of a film I watched years ago, or it might have been an episode in a series. I like to watch murder mysteries because they stimulate me. And I can't remember this very well. It's the vaguest of vaguest memories. But they were trying to track down a killer who abused his talent for persuasion with people who were in distress to get them to commit suicide. I think it could have been in the Blacklist television series. The guy had a remarkable talent for almost hypnotizing people. And he would find people who were suicidal, or who'd lost a spouse or a child, or they'd lost their job, or he would discover maybe from doctor's files or psychiatrist files or psychologist files, people who were in depression, clinical depression. And he would pick on them. He would befriend them, if I remember correctly. I'm kind of making this up because, as I say, it's the vaguest of vague memories. But I think it was roughly along those lines. And he would spend weeks dealing with these people until he was able to just push them over the edge with one sentence or something like that. And this suggestion that we shouldn't plant, that we shouldn't practice agriculture, as much as it may be good advice to one part of the body, namely the farmers. From their point of view, he might be the best guy in the world. Farmer doesn't want to risk losing 10 million rand. and being bankrupt and losing his farm, losing his future and his children's futures. But that's like saying that it's good to commit suicide if you've got very bad gout, because then your big toe, gout can occur in many parts of the body, but for those of you who've never had it, it notoriously occurs in the big toe or the joint just behind the big toe, and it's excruciatingly painful. So the body corporate should commit suicide for the sake of the toe. No. No. There is no way that the blithering buffoons and the willful perverts in the African National Congress shall be able to rescue us from a famine. The United Nations and the African National Congress will at best be able to save 9/10, 4/5 of the population, and that survives that portion that survives will be living on 1,500 kilojoules a day. Maybe that's high. 500 kilojoules, whatever it is. Of bugs, bug meat, and soya, cheap, mass-produced, charity-type soya products. And goodness knows what else. So I just wanted to really get onto this subject. I know that we spoke about it yesterday, but I woke up this morning just feeling as if it had to be addressed again. So I've now made 3 videos in a row, or 3 of my last 4 videos on this character. I've got a photograph I have a photograph of him on my other screen. That's why I point to that direction. I had to send somebody a photograph. No, 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 no. We will not allow an outsider to come here and to smuggle our brains. Anyway, guys, I think I've said more than enough. Thank you very much for watching this video. Good evening, and God bless all of you. Bye-bye, everybody.